Good God, y'all. All right, we out here. You know, every morning I tell myself I'm going to clean off the screen of this laptop, which is just fucking filthy. And every morning I forget. That's who we are, boys. Just, I'm so proud of myself too, because I'm pretty sure that, like, I set the day count, turned on the microphone, most of the shit that I'm supposed to do, I remembered to do it. But I did not remember to clean the screen last night. So if anybody is listening and would remind me that I want to clean that screen. Also, there's like a fly in here that I would love to murder, but I'm worried about getting into the worst episode of Breaking Bad by critical reviews. A fly. All right, what do we got here? I forget it was the first to begin. I don't know why we got all the way back down there. Let's see, I think chapters fucking some kind of espionage. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take the CIA here, and we're going to change it to the FBI, and the CIA will still be involved, but then we can get some heightening of dramatic tension when they realize it's the fucking CIA and not the FBI. And so let's find out where I wrote in the CIA. Oh, is that the only... How do we only have one mention of the CIA in the story? All right, so let's go back to Command Control G 440. Boom, by taking out 2 lines, we remove the CIA entirely from this book. If only it were that easy to remove them from the world. All right, so what are we drinking today? I've got that invisible key lime La Croix. That's fucking... oh. There we go. Coast Guard Intelligence Division. Oh, shit. The GIA. All right, let me get our fucking restream chat back up. I do like the key lime La Croix. It's I guess the strongest flavor that you can get from that hairspray taste and shit. Shout outs to Chad there. Chad, I gotta tell you, I miss the Discord being named the Real MK Ultra Discord. I don't know why y'all changed the name to Red Politics, but in my mind, it was the Real MK Ultra Discord, and I'm like, I can't get with this new shit. But I'm still gonna chat there, obviously. But yeah, I'm not a good change. What do we got here? And what am I drinking? So these guys right here, this is their fucking Colombian brew. It's a light roast. And normally I like light roasts a little bit better. They're slightly more caffeinated. They taste better. I did it for marketing reasons. Yeah, I don't know, man. You take it so seriously. You know, you can just chat there. Plus, the owner of the Blue Politics server is a dick. He is a dick. Man, I fucking hate that server. I hate any server where people will try to corral the conversation into just like a set of channels. Like, oh, I think you should be talking in our off-topic channel. Like, go suck a fucking dick. It just has like such a chilling impact on any conversation if you have some like nanny moderator being like, oh, we don't say those words in this server. Fuck off. God. So Stratum says, how many beverages does one person need? Honestly, I'd like to have like one more coffee up in here. So 3, I guess. And maybe like maybe like a hot cup of coffee, a cold cup of coffee, and then sparkling water. Um, yeah, I don't do anything fucking restrained in my life. You know, sometimes you gotta fucking double fist it in this world. Well, those don't go together. Oh, I can feel a caustic brew gestating in my gut. Where's the San Pellegrino? I like Pellegrino, all right. I think I mostly uh, drink that Gerolsteiner because it's the master race of sparkling waters. but I digress. Pellegrino. Yeah, I literally do pay like a lot of my money for water, and I could just get it for free by stealing it from New York City. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we made that change there, and she's super happy because Dan like wants to see her at this diner. I feel like a send is too much there, but we're already there. So this is chapter 62, and uh, could be saving the environment and drinking that acclaimed New York City tap water. I could be. That tap water is very seldom carbonated or caffeinated, and I need that nated. Yeah, not too much happened yesterday. Like I came home from work, um, ate a sandwich, and then I ordered a bunch of new T-shirts early this morning because I'm like sick of my T-shirts being kind of worn out, and I'm kind of like a jeans and T-shirt adult man. I don't like wearing collared shirts if I can help it, or a fucking tie or whatever. So anyhow, I like was staring. There are drugs. Yeah, there are trace amounts of drugs in just about any water that you can get your hands on. Even like La Croix and whatever. It's just drugs are out there. So hey, it's like you're getting high for free. But what is it? Just people piss out so much cocaine, and it just gets into everything. It's really easy to detect trace metabolites of cocaine that was once in a hooker. In just about everything in New York City. Everything's dusted with lead and mercury. It's awesome. But yeah, so I for like years, there's been a matchbook on the shelf of my bathroom, and it's a Fahrenheit 451 matchbook that says it was a pleasure to burn. And I'm a big fan of Ray Bradbury, as y'all know. And it's been there, even though dampness in the bathroom has long ago fouled the matches. So you can't like light a candle with those matches after you take a giant shit. But I've just left it there for a while. And last night I looked at the sign of the matchbox for some reason while I was taking a piss, and it's from this clothing company called Out of Print Books, and they do covers of classic books on T-shirts and shit. And so I picked up a bunch of shirts, like 5 of them, because they had like fucking Fahrenheit 451 and 100 Years of Solitude and a bunch of my favorite books you can get on a shirt. And so I just wound up buying like 5 of these things this morning before the stream. I was like, I need some new shirts. And that's like one of the more successful forms of advertising I've ever seen. A matchbook that just fucking hung out in my closet or on the shelf in my bathroom for fucking, could have been like 6 or 7 years at this point before like I up and bought something. So shout outs to George Washington, who asks, have you ever done marijuana? Yeah, I have smoked a gang of weed in my time. Although nowadays, like I smoke pot like once a year. And I'll tell you why, because you can't write well and smoke marijuana. Or I can't, at least. Maybe some people can. But it just doesn't fucking work out for me. And look at me looking like fucking Zog or Zed or Zud or whatever the fuck the guy's name was from Fifth Element with this weird haircut. God. So anyhow, yeah, I can't smoke weed and write the next morning. And I would rather write the next morning than smoke weed, 100%. I don't know, maybe I could do it if I like blazed up like first thing in the day, but I don't know. Have I ever done cocaine? Never fuck with cocaine, nor methamphetamine. I don't want, nor heroin. Anything that's got like a monkey on the back of it. Miss me with that gay shit. I don't want to be fucking addicted to something. Let me see. You need cocaine to write stuff. I don't know. Like apparently, cocaine is pretty good for some writers, but then they just get all twisted on it, and they fucking like I've written on amphetamines before, just like your over the counter Ritalin type Adderall sort of shit, and the fucking thing about it is that you go back and reread what you read, and it's all this obsessive meth fag bullshit that nobody would ever want to read, and why? Like I've got literally 5,000 word blocks of just description that I thought was interesting while I was taking Ritalin, and it's not. And it's just awful. So yeah, I've been working on this a long time, and I think just drinking coffee, I'm writing first thing in the morning, is the way to go about it. Well, look at this, guys. We are at chapter 62, and there are only 100 chapters, which means that we're well over the halfway mark. If we get to chapter 75, we will be 3/4 done with this motherfucker. And that is exciting. When we were getting up to it, I thought we would never get halfway through editing this fucking book. And we're substantially over halfway through. And just the power of sitting down and doing something every goddamn day, it just really is much stronger than I ever dreamed possible. I know it seems stupid, but I didn't think that I would be able to like sit down and edit this whole thing. I thought I would get like about a quarter of the way through, and then just kind of like slapdash through it, like, oh yeah, like I got to take out all these descriptions of women's feet. All right, I don't know why that guy keeps evading his ban, but he's not welcome in my chat. Um, so Chad says, I can't sleep. If it's not draining, making me cough, I'm pissed. Yeah, that's a fucking, I hate being congested, man. It's the worst. It's A1, not A1, so that we don't read it as, oh yeah. So Freya ordered a chocolate malt, a double cheeseburger with fried egg. A1 sauce. Is there a dot over A1? Let's take a look. I know Stratum researched this. A1 auto repair. There's a recipe for it. A1. Okay, so there's a period after both A and then 1. Tomato puree, raisin paste, distilled vinegar, corn syrup, salt, crushed orange puree, dried garlic and onions, spice, celery seed, caramel color, potassium sorbate, and xanthan gum. Actually, A1 sauce is like, I fucking love A1. I know it's not good for you, but let me see. Have you smoked gangster AK-47 marijuana from black neighborhoods? I guess most of the marijuana that I've smoked has come from black neighborhoods because I live in the ghetto. Wait, are you talking about the guy in LRH, Purple Lightning or whatever? I'm sure it's hard as fuck to get banned from your community. Yeah. Well, essentially, I have a theory on moderation, which I could get into here because I think it's kind of interesting. So I try not to ban people for personal reasons. Like I just don't like somebody, right? There are lots of people in my channel, for instance, where I'm not a fan of that person, right? But we don't ban them if they are just like somebody I dislike or somebody another moderator dislikes. What we ban for is like repetitive and autistic behavior, like spamming the same shit over and over and over again, or just constantly being negative, or just basically conversing as if other people aren't there, right? If they're not responding to stimulus within the chat room to the point where I think that they're a chat bot, we'll ban them. And any kind of automated chatting, like in my chat room, bots don't talk at all, right? They don't even set the topic, nothing, no words from bots. And I have this theory that when people see automated text and their text on the same line, it devalues their text, right? They're like, well, like a fucking machine gets to talk in here. What's what I say worth? And it's on a very minor level, right? There are plenty of rooms where just fucking bots are spamming all the time, saying shit, and they get zapped, right? But anyhow, that's one of my theories. My theory is like try not to ban people for personal reasons, so that people feel like there's some kind of justice within the moderation decisions. Very important. If people feel like a place is not just, they will just bitch about things constantly. If you make a decision to ban somebody and everybody can agree, they're like, yeah, we understand why this person got banned and we're not doing that kind of behavior, so we're not worried. It's great. So get rid of that person and everybody is on board with you. It's when people are not on board with you, where you like, hey, they banned my friend, and my friend wasn't really doing anything. That's where you have to deal with like all this moderation bullshit. So you want to have as many people on board with like powerful moderating decisions that you make as possible. And then your community won't get fractured. And the people who hold the power to remove people from the discussion should be few in number, and generally people who are not prone to like outbursts or banning people for no reason. It's just, that's how you got to do it. All right, what do we got here? Let me see. Is growing marijuana worth the risk for personal consumption? I am not willing to smoke black market Australian marijuana since there's a ton of plant growth regulators. So I'm not really qualified to speak on this because I don't know the laws in Australia. I know that a famous Australian who watches my stream, like the weed in Thailand had so much pesticide on it that he would wash his marijuana and dry it out before he would smoke it, which sounds like a good way to get, no fucking crystals, nothing on there. Yeah, I can't tell you. I don't know what their enforcement efforts are like. If they're like flying planes over with infrared guns and busting you for it and shit like that, probably not worth. Because it's quite difficult to disguise the heat signature of growing a lot of marijuana. But if you're just and like marijuana, like even growing out in a field, right, with tomatoes and shit like that, you can tell just by hitting it with an infrared gun. So, yeah, I would really, I'd really question whether you could make that pay for itself. I looked into commercially growing psilocybin mushrooms, and it was not worth the risk to me. The biggest part was that I'm not like well connected enough to offload like pounds of mushrooms every little bit. So yeah, that was always because I don't think drugs should be illegal for the most part. And I like the idea of doing something clandestine and under the radar and stuff. But I will tell you, when you're like selling drugs, all the fucking time you're worried about getting popped. It like seeps into every single thing that you're doing in your life. Every person that you see, you're like, fuck, is this a cop? Is this the person that's going to get me? And usually if you're growing pot, you're smoking a lot of pot, which is contributing to your paranoia. And the only people who can do it are just so fucking burned out that they don't care about anything. Like, yeah, man, everything's cool or whatever. I can't live like that, man. I don't like living with the weight of committing crime over top of me. More than like the consequences of getting caught is having to live with like this fear. Now it's like a little different from fighting for a cause, right? Like being part of an underground movement where you're going to blow up the Eiffel Tower because it's actually a antenna for communicating with spaceships orbiting the Earth that are trying to enslave all mankind. Like that's cool. It's worth having a little extra anxiety in your day to defeat those fucking reptilians. So yeah, indoor growing is another spot where it's pretty easy to pick those guys out with an infrared gun. Now, I guess if you were going to do, and the other part of it is, your neighbors are definitely going to know. In general, if you're the type of person who's watching this stream, your neighbors already do not like you. Right? It's just probably you're not on like the best terms with these people. And yeah, they'll fucking rat you out to the cops. They're like, it smells like weed all the time here. And like, it's just how it is, man. That aroma is very difficult to get rid of, and if you're doing any kind of commercial weight, you will be probably found out. Uh, really, like the people who should be growing like vast amounts of marijuana illegally are the ones who are like on fucking farms way out in the middle of nowhere where they're not flying fucking planes over you and where you're just doing your own thing and you're friendly with the people in the community and nobody gives a fuck. And then you can put together bales of cocaine. Hell yeah. In a clothing closet with a lock. What, you're talking about a clothing closet with a lock? No, I'm sorry. I thought we were talking about growing marijuana like pounds, nigga. Not like 2 plants and nobody gives a fuck about your like 3 plant grow op in a closet. I don't give a shit. It's still gonna stink all throughout your house. Just can't get rid of that smell. But yeah, like if you're fucking growing 3 plants, who cares? You know, have fun. Cops ain't gonna bother you for that. At least in America, they won't. They will not give a shit. Mm. God, now I do want to like create a grow lab, grow gangsta weed. I'm not gonna do it though. Um, I'm breaking the law enough with this. Freya ordered a chocolate malt, a double cheeseburger with a fried egg, a double. A fried egg, double cheeseburger, and steak fries with A1 sauce. Lynn Harris raised her eyebrows at Freya's order, as if. As if she thought Freya couldn't finish all that, but she was very wrong. Dan looked so happy to see her and went, okay. I like that she's just fucking chowing down. Why the fuck is there a fried egg in there? Yeah, so this is something that Americans will do. Let's put a fried egg on a cheeseburger. And I have to tell you, it's pretty fucking amazing. I'm a big fan. Let me see here. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, I don't think melting into the booth. Everything she'd been worried about seemed irrelevant compared to that smile. Uh, Same idea as cheese. Cheese is salty. Get that salty egg yolk goes good. Oh, shout out to Chris Alberti, 2019. Are you graduating in 2019 or oh, and it's on Mixer too, right there. So Chris, this is let me see. This is I guess it's a new novel to the world right here. This is Gravid. It's my 8th science fiction novel. It's about a young woman who suffers with severe depression and telepathy. And so we're getting deep into it now. We're on like page 453 out of 793. It's about 200,000 words. And we have been editing it for the last 49 days consecutively. Real talk. Yeah, if you're interested in this or other stuff that I've written, you can go to www.zachzyz.com, where all of my books are available to download as EPUB and fucking Kindle full free. But yeah, I've been writing for a long time. Why doesn't McDonald's just put hollandaise sauce on sausage McMuffins? It would be better. You know, it'd be better if they served like poached eggs on McMuffins, but they ain't gonna do that. God, Eggs Benedict is for the real ones right there. All right, so yeah, just to recap thus far, This is a young woman who, while she was trying to drown herself in a river, found a meteorite that turns out to have some sort of alien probe in it, and she's trying to figure out what's going on with it. And it's also kind of a love story, and we're getting into that part of it for the next little bit. Uh, mm-hmm. Yeah, this is actually like turning out to be a really solid book. It's the first one that I've edited on stream. Like people have been here talking about McDonald's on stream for like the last 49 days, and we've actually gotten some amazing edits from viewers. Just really, really smart stuff. So I've enjoyed this a lot. Oh shit! 11 million people in Wuhan for coronavirus. Oh, this is getting. They've already documented cases of this in the United States. Yeah, actually, before work, I'm gonna go to the supermarket and stock up on like a lot of fucking water and rice and beans and stuff like that. Just I'm in New York. It could be going down in the worst way. God, I should like brew up some fucking clandestine antibiotics and be ready to go. And I'm already armed to the fucking teeth, and all my guns are like licensed and permitted and everything. I'm ready, motherfuckers. Mm. I got like propane ready to go. Uh, yeah, my house is like a fucking fortress. I could literally hold off a concerted assault by about 20 people for like a long time. Just the setup here. Hell yeah. Oh, it's time, motherfuckers. The Stand 2020. No, but I mean, if you're following that coronavirus, they've confirmed human to human transmission. It's an animal to human, like it's in the whole bird flu thing. This could get real fucking quick. It could be a pandemic. So we'll have to see. It's actually like quite hard. In an attempt to contain the virus, Chinese authorities advised people in the city of 11 million not to leave. But the U.S. case showed how far the virus has moved behind the Wuhan region. A hotspot of a mysterious pneumonia-like virus. Yeah, it's going down in the worst way. And I tell you what, here in New York, like free of charge, you definitely get a taste of every pandemic. I've already told everybody if they if I die to please finish the book for me and get it out there. So Freya spotted Dan peering at her from the kitchen. He looked so happy when he caught her eye, she felt like she could just melt into the booth. Everything she'd been worried about seemed irrelevant compared to that smile. Okay, so timing wise, they wouldn't arrive. This is actually. Let's just take out the timing right there. Because I think timing wise, it would be about 6 a.m. Right there. Whereas the previous time she arrived, like, I don't know, right around the lunch rush or whatever there. Whew, martial fucking law in Wuhan. Oof. And they're blaming it already on like people fucking chickens or something like that, or like the illegal animal trade in Wuhan. But yeah, man, like at some point our society might have to change really radically to deal with the threat of airborne communicable diseases because just how close we pack each other in there. Oh, not sustainable, man. Me getting on a subway every morning with literally like 5,000 different people coming into contact with all those people every day. And just one of us needs to have the bug to give it to everybody else. Ugh. And around the 20s is usually when, for whatever reason, cyclically, we have like these devastating pandemics, like the Spanish fucking flu. Um, just I forget what the one was in the fucking 1820s. Ooh, yeah, I like thinking about that. I'm not gonna like living through it though. What a hellscape that'll be. The diner was less crowded than last time. Their conversation grew serious quickly. Lynn had Freya go over the internet thing. Lynn had Freya go over the issue with their internet several times and coached her in the exact wording she wanted. All right, what did the CDC? CDC said it's a low chance for it to take hold or really impact the United States. They're absolutely correct. One of the reasons why we don't have pandemics every day is that it's actually quite difficult to come up with a pandemic that is communicable on a global scale. It's like a pretty we're I guess we're rather fortunate, but it's actually pretty difficult to stay alive across a large strata of human beings. A lot of us have like fairly different immune systems, and you can see like heightened resistance to HIV in certain strains of people, and some people just fucking shrug off HPV like it's nothing, and some people like it devastates their immune system. Um, there's a lot of difference between population groups, and like successfully incubating in people and transferring to like whole new environments. It is kind of difficult, but I mean, not obviously it's happened many times before. The United States is like in a little better spot because like once it actually gets here, people are less. I want to say people are less immunocompromised than they might be in parts of China, just because generally we're eating a little bit better because we're sucking the rest of the world dry with our military war machine. Um, but yeah, I guess generally I would say that people have more constitution points over here, but we'll see. Oh yeah, I mean it's a low chance, but this could get real in a heartbeat. Mm. You see that Ebola flaring up all the time, just wiping motherfuckers out. Mm-hmm. The diner was less crowded than. What do we have here? So, what's the most successful pickup line for getting some sweet ass? I've never been any good at all with pickup lines. It just has never really fucking worked out for me. Um, generally, like I think the girl I'm dating now, I made like some kind of joke about David Bowie because I could tell she was real into it, and that worked out. Um, but yeah, so 60% fatality rate in the Congo Ebola crisis. And keep in mind that's without access to really top-notch healthcare in another spot where people are already fairly immunocompromised in a really hot and shitty jungle environment where just being alive is difficult. Uh, so Stratum is talking about closing off a city of 11 million over some shit that got 400 people sick, killing 9. True, true. But just keep in mind that diseases don't necessarily have a linear progression, right? And it's one of those things where, I mean, it's just the math. Like it makes sense to me for them to quarantine the city, um, just because I don't know, when you quarantine, it's not like you can really keep a lid on what's going on. People are still going to leave. People are still going to get afraid and do crazy shit and so forth. Um, that said, it just really is the way that like one person gives it to like 5 people, and 5 people each give it to 5 more people, and kablooey, the whole fucking earth is dead. Butthole says that they're probably underreporting it, which is possibly true. Yeah, I don't have a lot of trust in the Chinese state media, but when in the early stages of something, you don't know which of those people were going to die anyway. There's a lot you don't know. People in Asia are really paranoid about contagious respiratory disease, as well they should be. I love that they're just wearing those fucking face masks all the time. But Assault Ball says, get out the SARS mask. Yeah, everybody's riled up about this one here. Who would be up early in the morning? Mm-hmm. Oh, shout out to MK Ultra there in the chat right here. So we haven't really talked about our setting at all. Mm-hmm. Mm. Oh, so I'm Chad, and this is my main YouTube account. Yeah. Yeah, Chad, have you heard from School Shooter recently? What's that guy up to? I was just like, some guy messaged me on the Friends of Journalists Discord, and he's trying to get me to check out his shit. And I was telling him about Shooter's music, but yeah, like schoolshooter.biz now redirects to like fucking the MK Ultra support group. I'm not sure if he even has like his old music up there anymore. That guy is like, he's a great musician, but he's so erratic, dude. Um, Let me see there. 7/7 was less crowded than the last. Okay. He streams frequently and still posts on Twitter. Okay, cool. Streams on his YouTube channel. All right, well, let me reach out to that cat again. Let's see if we can get him to do something on the other show. Mm. So I like that dude, but I think he was real embarrassed by the fact that he drunkenly showed up and won a drinking contest that he was not invited to. China virus. It's wild. Wait, a Beach Boys slash Elvis themed show, and he might show up. It's been a long time since we've done like an oldies type show. We could absolutely do something like that. All right, so good luck, Chad. Thank you for being a part of the stream there, buddy. Sun was rising outside. Steering through the tree. Mm-hmm. Later, sir. The sun was rising outside, streaming through the trees and glinting off the cars in the parking lot. Freya glanced around the diner between bites. There was only one busy table, late shift nurses from the hospital. The other diners were scattered loners. A police officer. Mm-hmm. A few solitary truckers staring red-eyed at the dawn. The conversation with Lynn Harris became serious once they both finished breakfast. Lynn had Freya go over the issue with the internet several times and coached her in the exact warning she and coached and coached Lynn had Freya go over the issue with their internet several times and coached her in the exact warning they should use when they met with Hidden Kernu's security people. Freya mentioned that whiteboard issues at her school, and Lynn thought this was also useful to them. She thought their phones might have gotten infected with some kind of industrial malware. Lynn told Freya, let me see. Lynn told Freya about Stuxnet, a cyber weapon developed by the Israelis to attack Iran's nuclear program. That should be a new paragraph. Explaining how it targeted the industrial logic controllers and made their centrifuges spin too fast and tear themselves apart. So let's go through that paragraph. Lynn told Freya about Stuxnet, a cyber weapon developed by the Israelis to attack Iran's nuclear program. When was Stuxnet activated? What period? I think it was like around 2010. In the late aughts. I'm doing it. Okay, so that's while true, stratum. Let's see. Change the RPMs of the machine to taint the quality of the material so it wouldn't be fissionable. Whew, that's much more subtle. Did it make them spin faster or slower? Let's see. Fred. Okay, cool. It also did tear them apart. God damn it. Okay, cool. Yeah. I mean, when they start tearing each other apart, that's when I think if you want my guess as to why that happened that way, I bet that they originally tried to do it very subtly, um, where they wanted to just have the RPMs be wrong and fail to create the visible material. And I think eventually they were just, when they got to the point where they were afraid of being discovered, or alternately, it just wasn't effective enough to fuck up the spin, whatever. And they were worried that they would get enough for like, they were worried that that wouldn't be effective enough, so they just started tearing those motherfuckers apart, you know? Or maybe they just really wanted to see if they could do it. Like I would fucking love to rip apart a bunch of centrifuges with remotely executed code. So Bob says, "Hey, what video game is this?" Uh, Depression Quest. Shouts to that NAD. Freya was a little dubious until Lynn told her about Stuxnet, a cyber weapon developed by the Israelis to attack Iran's nuclear program in the late aughts. The weapon infiltrated their systems and targeted the industrial logic controllers. The weapon targeted their enrichment facilities and made their centrifuges. In Iranian enrichment facilities and made their centrifuges spin too fast and tear themselves apart. The image of centrifuges whirling out of control and disintegrating stuck in her mind. She thought about the morning where she'd been burning up, getting off and off again, getting off again and again, and her eyes sought out Dan. He was over at the register ringing someone up. She caught his eye, and he stared back so intensely it was like an electric arc between them. Joined late, heard depression quest, and Bob says it's working. I'm depressed already. Well, good. You know, honestly, just start doing some every time that you feel depressed or whatever. Just start doing some fucking push-ups until you're not depressed anymore. So just start right now. Drop and give me 40 push-ups, and tell the chat when you have done all 40, and then you won't be depressed anymore. Your fucking arms will hurt, and you can focus on that. It didn't matter if she was being manipulated. She would pay any price for this. It was everything. Lynn's words drifted past her. All Freya wanted was to be alone with Dan. I see. Joe Biden says he can do 40 push-ups in his New York Times. 40 push-ups for a man of his age is actually fucking impressive. I would love it if the fucking journalists at the New York Times had immediately said drop, you know, and then if whatever like purple-haired woman was interviewing him also did 40 push-ups alongside of him. That's great television. You know, it's really a missed opportunity for these motherfuckers. And then Spathy says, Joe Biden says he can do 40 push-ups, and then Spathy says, every year? I don't know if I could do 40 straight. I think I would cap out at about 25 right now. But I'm going to try to add that to my morning fitness routine. As of day 50, I'm going to go on a fairly strict diet and exercise regimen. And I also, starting day 50, I want to start marketing this stream and this book a little bit. And so I really, really need people's help on that because I don't have any idea how the fuck to market this stream or how to find people who would be interested in watching this. They joked about that exactly, but they didn't go through with it. It was also a woman asking him, and it was on camera. See, missing out on these opportunities. There's no way that I would ever vote for Diamond Joe because I think he's creepy, but he would definitely have a better chance of winning me over if the old man just dropped and did 40 fucking push-ups. I would find that impressive. Like when he was talking to the fat guy and like, let's go right now. Like, I don't like empty bluster. I think if you want to make noise about doing that shit, you need to drop and give fucking 20 right there. Half eaten is hyphenized. I have a 10-minute break at 6:50. Want to chat out back? Her cheeks felt like they were incandescent. Excuse me, Freya said. Like, thank God we didn't have like a check please moment here. What did I put in chapter 62? Oh, yeah, I didn't. It's a little spoilery. That's kind of cool. How's this scene work out here? So we added a little description of what was happening there. We didn't get too in-depth on the whole thing. At this point, I think to the reader, like the amount that she's eating should be kind of like a red flag. Like, what? I'm so hungry. Honestly, I wonder if we could get a Twitter campaign going to make Joe Biden actually do 40 push-ups on camera. Because I know Donald Trump cannot do 40 push-ups. Like that man with that gut, I don't know if Donald can do 10. You know what I'm saying? And I guess if we're coming closer to Biden being the candidate, which like honestly, I think Sanders has a really good shot at it. People, you know, the media, as much as they'd like to be like, oh, Biden or whatever, there, people really do like that fucking Sanders a lot better than old Biden. And Sanders actually has a chance to win. He's not going to win anybody in Middle America though. He's got like a lot against him, but yeah, like I would love to fucking just see it be a referendum on how Trump's this giant fucking fat ass, and for Trump to go into like a montage and just get on that Bitcoin billionaire diet and fucking drop 60 pounds before the election. Because he could do it if he started right now, man. Imagine like the erratic mood swings that he would get from dropping weight and everything. And just like suddenly the entire fucking island of Cuba disappears in a nuclear flash. God. What a world we live in. Let's see. Uh, Dan led Freya through the back exit. They walked past the smell of spent cooking oil. They walked past the dumpsters that reeked of spent cooking oil, through the parking lot, and into the woods behind the diner, where evergreens concealed them. It all disappeared from view. There was only him, and in his eyes there was only her. They fell into each other and shut their eyes in a long embrace that would have gone on forever if only there were time. When they broke, she kissed him, and as her lips touched, ooh, what the fuck? I think we do too much focus on the lips. This is a little fire was building in her. Da, 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 da. She could feel him growing against her. She pulled in. Da, 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 da. Ugh. Sex scenes on stream. I thought I lost you, she whispered, feeling him shudder. I couldn't. His voice wavered. Let me see. Hold on. Where is... I don't want to hear that sound ever again. Boom! Annihilated. Fucking Microsoft. Freya gazed at Dan's face and saw that everything had been abandoned. There was no more resistance, no anguish, and as she looked at him, she wondered what else had been lost. The eyes that had been so haunted last night gleamed with hope. She had a flicker of worry that this was not his decision, that they were only... The eyes that had been so haunted last night gleamed with hope. She had a flicker of worry that this was not his decision, and they were only pawns in the Starball's game. But the thought could not hold. It was battered apart in a storm of joy. They had found each other. Nothing else mattered. The connection began, and they started to merge. Sensations overlapped, and she rode along his stream of thought. He wanted to take her by the hand and lead her into the parking lot, get in his car without bothering to clock out, and drive back to her room. She beamed approval at him, and he was following the... Oh, wait. What do we got here? 10 of 10 on DLC, 10 of 10 on GameSpot. A final chapter that explains how this was all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine. Uh, Heavy D, Salt and Pepper in the limousine. And Freya was a slay queen who didn't need no balls this whole time. Sorry for off topic. The Starball made me do it. Dan wanted to take Freya by the hand and lead her into the parking lot. She beamed approval, and he... She hadn't even wanted to wait that long. His eyes widened as he saw her desire to be pressed back against the tree, his hands tugging at the belt of her jeans. She felt let me see. Freya felt him twitch against her at the thought. And they were just... we don't even have fucking words here. And they were just heartbeats. And they were just a few heartbeats away from tearing off clothes when the connection began to subside. Her disappointment was mirrored in his face. They had only skimmed a toe across the surface of the unity. But there wasn't the despair they'd felt at the track. They each had a sense that this was only a prelude. Soon. We don't need soon. Mm-hmm. No, I want it to be rode along his train of thought. I want the I want the language to imply fucking, and road is deeper than chased. In that yeah, that's a conscious choice. Let's see, what do we have here? Let's see, and let's look at this paragraph. Freya beamed approval. She hadn't even wanted to wait that long. His eyes widened as he let me see, what are all these questions here? Do I like eating mechanically processed chicken? USA government trade. What was the military like? Well, that's kind of like off topic, given the sex scene that we're trying to write. Yeah, I eat like a lot of chicken nuggers, or do when I'm like not on a crazy diet. The military, I wrote a whole fucking story about what it was like. I don't think you can find it online at the moment there, but suffice to say, it's too much to talk about in this thing. Is it true? Yeah, everybody who joins the military just wants the benefits. Nobody actually wants to serve their country. Everybody fucked up their life and has nothing better to do, or they need money for college and they're too poor to get it. There are like a few genuinely insane people who are there, like, I'm going to serve my old country and all that, but very few and far between. For the most part, it's just fuck ups. And fuck ups who can get you killed, by the way. So Stratum says that poverty is the new draft. Couldn't agree more. Uh, the belt of her jeans. Yeah, that's weird. I think the waistband of her jeans is like a little. Just like, what kind of girls don't wear fucking belts? Get out of here. Okay. An alarm interrupted them. Dan's phone chimed that his break was nearly over. It seemed impossible this whole exchange had taken 8 minutes. We didn't get to talk, he said, seemingly surprised by the sound of his own voice as he turned off the alarm. It felt so inefficient to have to use words to communicate. Freya realized she hadn't told him about Lassa yet. Do you still want to come to the concert with me? She asked, and he nodded easily. At once Freya knew she hadn't even needed to ask. Of course I do. I go anywhere with you, he said, reaching out to hold her hand. We can talk about everything on the way there. I'm so happy, she said, feeling the starball's heat dissipating in her pocket. Oh, wow. Do we do another fucking chapter break right here? Yeah, we do. Um, yeah, you need... So, chapter break. Yeah, these are all, like, too short to be whatever. Let's see. So, there. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Hold on. Jesus Christ, so many fucking questions right here. How many women did I dominate in the current lifetime? What's your sex life like? Uh, Dominate. I would say that only like maybe about 10% of the women that I go out with are really into like that like dom sub mechanic in to where I would really call it like a DS relationship. Like just about 10% of women, and usually they're more into it than I am. I find like the whole thing a little bit creepy, to tell you the truth. I'm much more interested in fucking an equal than somebody who is just like submissive to my like every, and they can tell too. They're like, this guy is not like the type that wants to like call me a whore and spit in my face and all that shit. Um, So, and yeah, my sex life is actually really solid at the moment. And, just seeing one woman at the moment, and hopefully I can keep that up for a while. Maybe, maybe not. You know, we'll see. But yeah, just seeing one woman at the moment, and life is good. So, but yeah, prior to that, I think I was seeing about three different new women every week for a period of about 3 or 4 years after like this long breakup of like a 12-year long relationship. And yeah, that's I don't recommend being in love with somebody for like 12 years and then breaking up with them. That'll do a number on you. So that took me about 3 fucking years to recover from that one. Whoa. And the way that I recovered from it was like by sleeping with like everybody in New York City. Like I'm the one that needs to worry about coronavirus. Freya was still floating as they left the diner. She didn't realize they were going to Hidden Curlew until Lynn's Mercedes was pulling into the gated visitor lot. In a panic, Freya realized she'd brought the Starball right to the lab. What if all their equipment started flaking out like the whiteboards at Grayson? It'll be okay, Lynn said, noticing she was tense. I'll do all the talking. Freya wondered if she could leave the Starball in the car, but it seemed wrong to her. She was deeply averse to being separated from the orb. She took a deep breath and went inside, knowing all the while that she was a fool. They'd remodeled the lobby since the last time Freya was at Hidden Curlew, and it smelled different than she remembered. Before, it had been like a hospital in here, the lingering scent of bleach, shoes squeaking against linoleum floors. Now everything had been redone in cedar, stacked slate, and blue-green glass. There was a distant note of varnish on the air. There was a distant scent of varnish. It barely felt like a laboratory anymore. Hidden Curlew's CTO was waiting for them in a conference room that was a triangle of blue-green glass jutting from the side of the Hidden Curlew building. There was an impressive view of the rising hills dotted with evergreens. Freya expected to see the old systems administrator, a big fat man named Carl who was perpetually clad in Birkenstocks and a ratty Dimmu Borgir t-shirt. But apparently they'd remodeled their staff, too. Oliver Carhu was a slight blond man with wire-framed glasses and a fashionable gray suit. He had an air of distraction, as if he badly needed a cigarette and only needed to get this interrogation out of the way first. His phone was constantly buzzing with alerts, and he had to pause often to check them. He'd apologized the first time, but after that it was just understood this was how it was going to be. He'd apologized about the first interruption, but after that it was just understood this was how it was going to be. Let's see. Load. If I continue to eating McDonald's, my heart will explode in 3 months from the sodium and possibly heat stroke. Yeah, we'll just stop fucking eating at Macca's, you know? Like, it's pretty easy. You save a lot of money. Just make up a big fucking pot of beans and rice, and you know, you'll feel better about it. I might soak some rice tonight, actually. Medicare won't do shit. Yeah, I mean, if you're a fat fuck in this world, you have only yourself to blame. I was talking about this with some other people. They're like, yeah, like obesity is a poverty-induced disability. It's like, it's not like poor people don't have access to beans and fucking rice. You know, where they're like, oh, there's corn syrup and everything. They can't, man, poor people have so much more fucking time to do whatever the hell they want. You know, like, than And then rich people whose lives are cluttered with like fucking yoga classes and all the kids and so forth. And I'm like, wait, but none of what I just said is actually true. Anyhow, like I don't have a lot of sympathy. It's not, like healthy food costs fucking nothing. You could eat beans every goddamn day of your life. And in fact, as I was growing up, I ate beans every goddamn day of my life. And literally, you can eat on $3 a day if you really have to. And it's much cheaper. Like you consider the amount of calories that you can get from $3 worth of beans and rice, and contrast that with the amount of calories that you can pick up from McDonald's doing the same fucking thing. And even if you just drink ketchup from ever flowing fountains, you will never match. You know, it's just God. So I mean, just if you want to be lazy, but just admit to yourself you're a lazy motherfucker. I'm too lazy, right? I'm like all the time, like going out eating food that I shouldn't because I'm like, I don't want to make something. Lazy nigga. A Hulk Hogan brother. My parents circumcised me without consent because they are Muslim, and I am conscious about my size. I mean, it's not like your dick would have been any bigger with foreskin. You know, you would have had like that floppy elephant thing at the end or whatever. But what'd you lose? Like uh, a quarter of a centimeter or something like that? Fuck out of here. You know, if you got a small dick, you got a small dick. You're gonna have to go through life with a small dick. It's not gonna get any better. You could join the Jelk Club. Ridiculous. Hollywood Hogan. All right, let's get more into this chapter though. As she'd promised, Lynn Harris did most of the talking, and Oliver listened intently. A few times he had to politely ask her to hold on so he could answer a pressing message. Freya could see a distorted reflection of his phone's screen in the glass behind him, but she couldn't make out much. She could tell there were at least 5 people demanding his attention at once. It was like he was in a collapsing building, rushing from room to room, trying to shore it up. What had Lass done? The starball was growing warmer and warmer in her pocket, and she wondered what the hell it was doing. She looked at the reflection. Expecting everything to start glitching out at any moment. What can you tell us? Lynn Harris asked, when she'd finished with her account. Well, first, Freya, may I see your phone? Freya looked to Lynn, who nodded at her. She slid her phone across the table to Oliver, who had set his laptop on the table. Connected to it was a black plastic box the size of a deck of cards. Okay. Do you need to keep it? Freya asked. I don't think so. I'd just like to see if there's anything running on it that shouldn't be. I'm going to take a forensic image of your phone first. That way, if anything happens, we can still recover the data. Mm. Okay. All my pictures and stuff are on iCloud anyway, she said. Freya and Lynn had already gone through all of her texts. There was nothing she couldn't explain. She didn't like the thought of Lassa's work snooping through her photos, but there was nothing to be done now. At least she didn't have anything too risque. But Freya doubted Karhu would know what he was looking at. The really embarrassing things were all her sad, declining little email chains with her former friends, the slow dissolution of all of her relationships, but they wouldn't care about that either. There would be almost nothing from her mother. Lasse didn't text and seldom called. Let me see. So we say that Lasse doesn't text. Let's I don't think Lasse has texted her at any point during the story. And Karhu performed some arcane combination of button presses and shut her phone off. When it booted back up, it was displaying a black and white terminal. He asked Freya to enter her password, and it took a few tries for her to get it. The little cursor didn't move as she typed, and it tripped her up. When she'd gotten in, she handed... Let's take out the format. When she managed to unlock it, Karhu got a cable from his case and plugged her phone into the imager. It'll take a little bit to make the image. It's backing up everything. What can you tell it? What can you tell us? We're happy to cooperate, but we're more or less in the dark here, Lynn said. Impatience was already snaking into her voice. We're very worried about Lasse. I'm quite relieved to hear about the issue with your home internet. I wish you would have notified me at once. I'm quite relieved to hear the... We're very worried about Lasse. I was unaware of the issue with her home internet. Really, she should have notified me at once. I'm going to take a very close look at her machine and find out if it was compromised. At some point, I would like to take a look at the router and see if there's any issue with it. I don't expect to find anything there. Cross-platform malware is very uncommon. Does Lasse have a personal phone? No, she only has the hidden Kernu one, Freya said. Oliver nodded. So, I really wouldn't expect to see anything on Freya's phone then. Most likely either Lasse's phone or her workstation are compromised. Did you bring her computer? Yes, Lynn Harris said, and she passed him the leather laptop bag she brought from Lasse's room. That's great, thank you. As to what's going on, I'll tell you what I can. This is still an active intrusion, and we're working to secure it. Can you tell us when it started? Freya asked. Okay. Whew. We noticed something strange about a week before Lasse's absence. Before Lasse took a week of PTO. was only when she was absent that we noticed the correlation between her not being in the office and the unauthorized transfers. Then we began to investigate her account and we saw work orders being generated for testing that made no sense, things totally unrelated to her department. We wondered if it was intentional industrial. We'd wondered. Mm-hmm. Wait. What are? Sorry, I'm wading through all the fucking bullshit. Just do a timeline in Excel already. Let me know if you want to do it from the diffs of your. Yeah, if you feel like throwing together. Malin Bandara. Malin Bandara. This is the story of a young woman who encounters. She like discovers an alien probe, and is trying to deal with the ramifications of being the first person to discover alien life on Earth. Maybe we're still getting deep into it, but yeah, it's a science fiction book about telepathy. So I guess you could call it like contact with more fucking. But yeah, this is my eighth novel. I'm a science fiction writer from Brooklyn named Zach ZYZ. And if you're interested, you can check out my website where all my previous books are available for free. Yeah, Spaethiwa, if you want to make a detailed timeline, um, that'd be just fucking stellar. Um, I think that there are a few. Um, what are the focal points? The focal points are just mainly like astrological phenomena, like spots where there's a full moon and spots where there's some kind of whatever. But yeah, like if we just at the beginning of every fucking chapter, if we could say what day it is, that would be so helpful. And I just have not been able to sort that out because that's the kind of detail oriented work that I detail oriented don't fucking do. I really should. Yeah, does it really seem so long ago? It seems like about 450 fucking pages ago to me. Good morning. What do we have there? 450 pages. God, what a world we live in there. She's going through a tough time, but I don't think she's gone crazy or anything, Freya said. I'm trying to get her to see a therapist. We really need to talk with her. We need to talk with her as soon as possible. The idea of her machine being compromised makes the most sense. A lot of the data that was transferred is from projects Lasso would have no knowledge of, and there was simply too much taken for one person to parse it all. It's all quite puzzling. Freya wasn't puzzled, and the desire to know what the hell the Starball was up to burned in her mind hotter than the orb in her pocket. What kind of stuff was taken? Freya asked, and Lynn's eyes flashed with warning. I mean, I understand you can't be specific. I'm just curious. Let me see. Good Lord. George Washington, who are you even talking to in the chat? Like, that has nothing to do with writing. Ain't wiling out in here. Like, put down the pipe. Oh, wait. Hold on, a librarian is mad. I gotta click on Stratum's link. So the image that Stratum just posted, and it's from the University of Liverpool Library, and it says, "This is not a bookmark," and it's a slice of processed American cheese that somebody used as a bookmark. It's still in the plastic wrapper. Oh, ingenious. That's a good one. Uh, can you imagine the person using a slice of cheese as their bookmark? I was looking for a bookmark last night. I started um, a reading. I think it's the Edith Grossman translation of Don Quixote. It's pretty solid there. I love the book has like ragged edges, and I love the typeface that they've picked, and the printing in it is like really high quality. And it was just really noticeable because like earlier in the day I was reading a story in Analog, and Analog is like a pulp type printing. It's just like it's on newsprint, and the letters aren't like super sharp. And if you go from reading that to reading like a really nice printed edition of Don Quixote, it was like a nice distinction between the two. I apologize, Load. I am too stupid. I should go outside more and develop a lifestyle and work cash in hand. Yeah, I mean, just, try to stay on topic is all I ask. I understand that you're like wiling out and that your life is in a shambles. Just, here we're trying to fix this book. But during the other stream, like absolutely, you can just wile out every day. We love that kind of shit in my other channel. Although you will probably get banned from there too if you just spam off the top. It's just about like modulating the crazy shit that you want to say and like leaving some time for other people to interact with your conversation. And I understand that like when you're a young guy, like it's very difficult to like pause and listen to what other people have to say. And it just takes some time to like learn that the whole time you're talking, you're not learning anything. Or when you're listening, you're always learning something. And like people are like less thrilled about the zany shit than you have to say than you saying something that they haven't heard before, right? So there's like and all this will come with time, but there's like a mix of like the novelty that people are willing to hear from you and the amount of familiarity that you can have with strangers, and like how very, very little people want to hear just one guy spamming shit nonstop. Like people will immediately start to tune you out. And I always tell people to like think about the voices like coming over the airport intercom, like how many thousands of times, like if you see a suspicious package, and then you just tune that shit out immediately. And even if you're not saying the same thing over and over again, if you talk too much, people will tune you out. Like the whole time that this is going on, I was just like, I'm not paying attention to that guy. I got a fucking book to write. So the well, I can't get The Right to Bear Arms published as a hardcover book because it's like 40 pages long. It's too short to. You could do it as like a teeny little chapbook or whatever. That would actually be kind of cool. I think it has some interesting like political ramifications, but like I don't think that there's a market for it. But yeah, like if it was, let me see, if you put out the book that was about this size, right? Shout outs to Tichu right here. If it was about this size and you could just hand those out, I really like that idea. Actually, that's a really smart idea. Yeah, just like a teeny tiny little, I think this is like 6x4, right? It's like it's a little shorter than 6x4, I think. But about the size of a deck of index cards, just like a little hardcover, and I could collect like 2 or 3 short stories in there and just hand those out. Oh, I love that idea. It doesn't even really have to. I've seen like people giving out like tiny copies of the Bible that just fit into your palm. But yeah, let me see. Do I have one of them floating around? So if you look right here, so this is the standard Amazon sizing for the fucking Right to Bear Arms, which I think is great. But then you look at this guy right here, it's like much smaller. And I don't know why I chose to make this like a fucking, this is 8.5 by 5.5. And I guess it's like a comfortable size to read. And when you're looking at like a little teeny book, you kind of have to get in a little bit closer and so forth. But yeah, maybe a pocket-sized collection of short stories would be a good idea as a way to just market to people, especially if it just looked amazing to people. The problem is, I think I would need 4 total short stories that are about that 10,000 word mark. I don't think that survival mode, which is my other like piece of short fiction, really fits into there. So yeah, like if I got 2 more sort of interesting political stories that came in at about the 10,000 word mark, and just had like that short story collection, there was this little tiny book, and just got like a few hundred of those and left them around the city. Yeah, I like that idea. Whew. What is Tete Beche Book? I don't know what a Tete Beche Book is. A joined pair of stamps in which one is upside down in relation to the... Ooh. Ooh, I like that. Tete Beche. Huh. Let me see. I do like the idea of that being hardcover. But yeah, let me see what the smallest that I could get that to happen at. What's the smallest size? This is a really good idea. I love the idea. How do you pronounce Tete Beche? Teddy Bish. Ugh. Fuck off. Why would you have an advertisement? That's awful. Yeah, I just like, I don't know why people.
Road. Book a place to stay for any budget.
Fuck off. God. Why is there like video and shit in this? Ugh. That's awful. Yeah, none of that needs to be there.
Teat Betch.
Teat Betch? Oh, great. Thanks.
Teat Betch.
So, tit bag. Teat Betch. Both covers are front covers. Books are flipped 180 degrees, single binding. Yeah, I know exactly how to do that. And I think I can make that happen in InDesign. Honestly, like I could probably put something like that together in a day. Um, Equivalent quality to like the Steve Jobs books. I like the idea, and I think the covers for both The Right to Bear Arms and Hawks at the Diner are pretty nice covers. Like people pick those up and they would like to have a. It'd probably come out costing me about $3 or $4 a book to do that. So the question is, do I want to like spend $300 or $400 on like a short print run of these books? But I do think that that's like kind of a neat marketing thing right there, and I like that idea quite a bit. Really, really interesting there. Like I love books as physical objects that you can hand to somebody. And I got to tell you, like as cool as these are, like it's like very, very thin, and I don't think it engenders the desire to read. Um, and then I could have something interesting at the very center of the book. I could do some like neat graphic design shit with it. And I'm really into this idea. I may work on that today. Yeah, really, really. See, this is like we could have just banned George Washington because he's going crazy. But I was interested to hear some of his ideas, and now he's given us this like amazing idea, and I love Spaethiwa's twist on it of making it this Teep Betch flip thing. So a good idea for a coffee shop would be a coffee shop with bookshelves as the walls, and customers can pick a book and buy and have coffee. Uh, there's actually I did a reading at a bookstore that's like that. It's called Better Read Than Dead Books, and I actually did a reading of a Ray Bradbury story there from this book right here, The October Country, which is like one of my absolute favorite books of horror ever. That's a real one. All right, so let's get back into this. What kind of stuff was taken? Freya asked, and Lynn's eyes flashed with warning. I mean, I understand you can't be specific. I'm just curious. Like I said, a huge volume of material, not only from Hidden Kernu, but from our Kreda network. Lass's division is RH. Most of the work she does. Lass's division is RH. Most of the work that was errantly ordered was, and the material taken was NPP. Freya and Lynn's eyes met. Neither understood. They turned back to Karhu, waiting for him to translate the jargon to English. English should be capitalized. Oh, of course. Kreda are research agreements we have to share data with government entities. They're one of the reasons we have to get to the bottom of this quickly. Very soon, we will need to. RH is reproductive health. What's NPP? Neuropsychopharmacology, antidepressants, anxiolytics, that kind of thing. Keenly, Freya could remember Lassa angrily saying Dr. Garboglio didn't know a tenth of what she did about the Lunesta. She was racking her mind. Could Lassa have actually been involved in some kind of espionage? The starball was uncomfortably hot, but she didn't want to take it out of her pocket. When had the starball started working on her? Was it in the... Had it been tearing around in the hidden Kernu system trying to figure out how to pacify her? She could remember it struggling to calm Dan down, the layer of frost on the outside while his core was on fire. The layer of frost at the edges while his mind was on fire. As she whirled with ideas, the imaging of her phone completed. Karhu took one of the Karhu took one of the data cards out of the imager and flipped the tab to read only. Then he put it in a little plastic case and wrote on the label in pen. Okay, now that we have a backup, let's see what's happening on your phone, Karhu said. He had long fingers with neatly trimmed nails. She looked for calluses to see if he was a guitar player, but there were none. She remembered Carl had been a bass player and idly wished he were here instead. There had been something comforting about how disheveled he was. Oh, I didn't read it. Let's, yeah, I did not read it. George Washington. I want to read that at some point, and I want to read My Struggle, that like Swedish epic. Let me see. Karhu was rapidly tapping through pages of text, looking through lists of process and services. He gave a little ruminating commentary as he did, but most of it flew over Freya's head. Lynn was paying close attention. Let's have it not fly over her head. Freya and Lynn were both paying close attention. There it is, he announced, seeming almost disappointed. They didn't even try to hide it. Unusual. Karhu turned the phone around so they could see it, pressing a fingertip at the top of the list. Most of the processes had names like memo serve. Shoutouts to Chrono. But the top one's name was just 0. Next to it were columns indicating memory and processor use. 0 was close to 80% on both. Is that why my battery life has been awful? Freya asked. Almost certainly. Though this is an older phone, you're probably near end of life on your battery too. I'm going to have to ask if we can keep your phone after all. I'm sorry. That's fine. So is it something like Stuxnet or whatever? Freya asked. Really unlikely to be something at that scale. And those were very difficult to detect. That kind of state-level malware is very difficult to detect. This seems almost amateur, but I won't know until I can examine it. Do you think our router is infected too? Before I didn't think so, but now I'd like to take a look at all the computers. Before I didn't think so. I don't think so, but I'd like to take a look at all the computers in your house. Lass's phone is Android, so maybe this is a cross-platform threat after all. Karhu inhaled deeply and sighed, rolling his thumb and index finger across his temples, against his temples. His phone kept chirping against the table, and he looked down at it as if it were making him seasick. Can I see your phone as well? He asked Lynn, and she shook her head. There's privileged data on it. I can't let you make an image without a court order, Lynn said. Freya wondered how much of that privileged data was sexting. But Lynn did have other clients after all. That's totally fine. Can I just check the running processes like I did on Freya's phone? I wasn't on their wireless network ever. I used my data plan. Lynn sounded a little defensive. Do you mind if I look anyway? Karhu pressed. It should only take a second. Reluctantly, Lynn Harris surrendered her phone, hovering at his side as he worked through it. Lynn's phone was an Android. He didn't need to reboot it to get it running. Freya couldn't see the screen, but from their faces she could guess what they were seeing. Looking upset, Karhu turned over his own phone, tabbed away from all the angry notifications, and pulled up his own application list. The zero process was at the top of the list. He pulled up his own process manager. The zero process was at the top of the list. So I think application list is the correct name for there. But we're just going to call it process manager so that we can use this top of the list thing. Oh, fuck, Karhu groaned. You have no idea how much worse my day just got. He shoved the phone away from himself in disgust. It spun at the center of the table and rattled against it with a notification. We have to get the authorities involved now. This is way too big, Karhu said, so daunted that he seemed for a moment like a child dressed up in a man's clothes. That's a little much. Yeah. Clearly daunted, Lynn and Karhu began talking at once about getting Hidden Kurnu's lawyers involved and which agency they needed to report to. Mm-hmm. Ugh, there's just not enough coffee in here. Let's see. Yeah, I guess I gotta switch to La Croix. But did he? But he did figuratively shit himself. Yeah. Forgotten, Freya hung her head. Forgotten, Freya hung her head in silent despair. It was all about to slip away from her. The government would sworn in and find in everything. The government would swarm in and find out everything. They would take the star ball. They would lock her up. She would never see Dan again. Wild thoughts of escape flashed through her mind, taking Randall's truck and running for it, trying to escape to Canada. Please, stop. Just let me make it through today. Please. She clenched her fists around the star ball in her pocket, wishing for the millionth time that it could just talk to her. She felt the cool clarity of its efforts to calm her, and then her eyes focused on Karhu's phone as another flashing red notification set it buzzing angrily against the tabletop. Hey, Freya interrupted. She pointed at Karhu's phone. The zero process had disappeared from the list. Karhu reached across the table and took the phone, scrutinizing the screen. They looked at Lassa's next. The process was gone. Mida vidu, Karhu breathed. In her fist, Freya could feel the star ball begin to cool. Damn. Wait, is this 4 separate fucking distinctions in this chapter? No. Okay, cool. Yeah. Oh, we need a chapter break. Okay, so 62. We go from the diner to there. An alarm interrupts him. That's a good chapter break. So what happens in this next one? Why do we have... That's all pretty important. It's got to be there. We're getting to like the thriller part of this. Okay. Yeah, we just... Oh, that's fine. We'll just have 4 chapter breaks here. It's a little excessive. I think an editor will probably cut that out. conference room became a gyre of confusion. Hidden Kernew's lawyers arrived. As the morning dragged on, the conference room became a gyre of confusion. Hidden Kernew's lawyers arrived and got into a huddle. I think those two eyes. Wait, if you're, George Washington is not Swedish, but I think the two eyes together, and this is Finnish, but I think it would be like Heiden Kernu, rather than Heiden Kernu. Heiden Kernus. Heiden. I need. I think it's a made-up word, but I need a Finnish person to tell me how the fuck this should be said. Heiden Kernew's lawyers arrived and got into a huddle with Lynn Harris. Flustered-looking technicians were arriving, and Karhu was rapidly dispatching them to tasks around the building. There were missed buttons on shirts and mismatched socks. There were missed buttons on dress shirts and mismatched socks. A ripe, hungover musk in the air that said the emergency summons had been too urgent to even shower. Oh, I like that. There were missed buttons on dress shirts and mismatched socks. A ripe, hungover musk in the air that said the emergency summons had been too urgent to even shower. Freya was left with nothing to do, wishing she'd brought a book. Karhu and the lawyers were trying to convince Lynn Harris to surrender her phone, and Lynn was digging in her heels. Freya could tell from the tone of her voice they would have to take it from her by force. A flurry of words passed between Karhu and the lawyers in Finnish. Freya could only pick out Freya could only pick out a little, but the words Taitokone Pandemia clung to her as if barbed. She could not shake them loose. That's a computer pandemic right there. The argument got increasingly heated. Finally, Karhu managed to convince Lynn to remove the battery from her phone and slide it into one of the signal-blocking sleeves. She promised not to turn it back on until she heard from the authorities. With the compromise reached, Freya and Lynn found themselves politely banished to the lobby, watching more and more people streaming in. It was all about to be a fiasco. She'd ignored all the warnings. Freya had ignored all the warnings. Let all the chances to tell someone slip away. People were rushing in every direction, looking distraught like ants whose hive had been kicked to pieces. How much was this all going to cost? How big was it going to get? Everyone's weekend was ruined, and it was all her fault. Yet as Freya groped for the guilt she should have felt, there was nothing. She could stop all this right now, rip the star ball from her pocket and hold it in the air like a beacon. With all of their eyes upon her, she could confess everything. The idea seemed as distant and fanciful as if she planned to levitate. The nausea and aversion she'd felt before did not return. They were no longer necessary. She wanted to check her phone for the time, and she remembered they'd taken it. Behind the reception desk was a blank clock face with no lines and no numbers. It was just after 3. 2 hours until she could see him. Nothing else mattered. Real. So I think this is chapter 63. Real weird that we have like all those chapter breaks. Let's take a look and see if there should be another chapter. Okay. So here's chapter 62. Fries, chocolate malt. Meeting with Dan. Still floating. Oh, yeah, okay. So it's not as bad as we think it is. So this is a spot where we could break to another chapter. Right here. So let's see where we're at. Oh, yeah, I think it actually is smart for us to break to another chapter. So here's a chocolate malt. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, wait, actually, I think this is the spot where that would be a chapter. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, let's break it to a chapter. And the reason we're doing that is one, I think having four chapter breaks inside of a chapter is kind of excessive. And also, this is like a whole different scene, right? Like this diner scene does not have a tremendous amount to do with what's going on at Hidden Current. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's a 4-page chapter. That's fine. I would rather have that like broken up right there. So that's chapter 63. And then we're going to, that means that our next, yeah. And then what does this put this at pacing wise? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, okay, cool. This is a good choice to break that shit up there. Because, like, our chapters are about, like, 7 fucking pages long for the most part there. Okay, cool. So, a lot about to happen. I think the next few scenes are not dealing... yeah, I like a lot of the next scenes that are coming up here. I'm looking forward to editing them. All right, what have we got here? It's now 6:53. We've been editing for a couple of hours. Thanks everybody for getting up in this. We're at page 467 pages right here. All right, so let's shift. Let's see how many. File new. Blank. Oh, and then let's view the word count. Okay, so we're up to 120,000 words. And out of, what have we swelled up to at this point? So 120,000 words. Out of 205,000 words. All right, so we're getting down to it, and it looks like some of the end of it is just like some other bullshit that I've horned into there. Delete. Whew. Well, we've done it. So good job, everybody. Thank you for being a part of this here. Let's go to Command Control G, page 460. Cool. Okay, cool. I don't think that we have to. I don't think we need another edit on this chapter. I think the break of it is a good thing there. Chapter 64 starts to get like a little bit more heartfelt. So here, it becomes more important to have hold on just a second. There we go. It becomes more important to have like kind of some tension in the plot and things moving forward. We're past the point where we can just be kind of like dithering along, and I don't feel good. So from this point in the story, things need to be like a little bit tighter as we're working on it. All right, well, shout outs to everybody tuning into this, especially the new people tuning in, but more especially the people who post some edits. And I think we got a good idea there. Shout outs to Tierra Flyable there. Yeah, we do this every morning, and it will probably take us about 100 total days to complete our edit. So maybe by like the end of March, we should be done. But yeah, I have not missed a day so far, and I'm not planning on it. All right. Thank you all for joining, and outro it up.